Sierra Leone is a small West African country found on the west coast of Africa. The country has a rich history spanning from slavery, pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial times. The country has seen conflicts, disease outbreaks, landslide, and floods. However, the country has seen peace and tranquility for the longest of time cumulatively. Sierra Leone is blessed with natural wealth like minerals, fertile soil, rains, surface and underground waters, among others. However, the country is currently among the poorest of the poor in the world. Currently, according to WFP, over 80% of the population is food insecure. We will come back to that later, but for now, let's look into the past. Sierra Leone used to be a food self-sufficient country. An article written by Reverend Caps Kanu on his newspaper Cocorico reveals that Sierra Leone was food self-sufficient as far back as in 1909 under colonial rule. The article says Sierra Leone was even exporting rice, the country's staple food, to other West African countries at the time. After independence in 1961, the country still enjoys enough food for her citizens.
Say, on time, food been there.
In our time, there was food, enough food. The currency was valued and everything was reasonable. We thank God.
So we thank God at that time.
Sierra Leone was food self-sufficient up to the 1980s. The staple food, rice, was in abundance and many other complementary foods. There was variety of food like fufu, gari, and cassava bread, among others. There was potato, yams, and other tubers, all complementing rice and the fight against hunger. This was made possible thanks to the booming agriculture sector at the time. Apart from the booming agricultural sector, road network played an important role for the movement of agricultural goods to strategic locations in the country. Thanks to the establishment of railways, 97-year-old Cassandra Gaba remembers this clearly.
We had the railway, but the railway was convenient for transporting goods also from the hinterland, from up country, as we used to say. So that, the up country people also therefore maximize their environment by doing a lot of planting, rice, vegetables, cassava, all these things.
Food was grown across the country, including the capital, Freetown. As a young woman, 97-year-old Cassandra Gaba used to see vegetables planted in several places across Freetown, Sierra Leone's capital.
People learned to maximize the surroundings. That is why provision of vegetables and whatnot, particularly in the mountain villages, Gloucester region, Charlotte, people had to maximize their environment, and they did a lot of planting of vegetables. So,
sadly today, Grandma Cassandra has lost sight of the beautiful scenery of vegetable plants in the city. Urbanization has taken place. But this is a tip of an iceberg for Grandma. Grandma is so amazed at the level locally produced food has disappeared in the country and the country being flooded with imported food. 97-year-old Grandma Gaba recounts on how this has caused not only hunger but reduction in nutrition.
Although we welcome development and civilization, these are the disadvantages to me of civilization. Because we begin with, over the years, now we're 63 years independent and all that, getting all these tinned food and what's not from overseas has spoiled us, has made it lazy. We've become very lazy. Instead of planting your green peas, you just go to the shop and buy a tin of, which of course is the quality of what you get from the natural green peas. You don't get it from the tinned one, I'm sure. I'm not a nutrition, but I can understand. So these are all the these are some of the disadvantages of civilization. We've been spoiled by feeling that when you eat tinned food and whatnot, then you are somebody.
According to the World Food Programme, over 80% of Sierra Leoneans are currently food insecure. If you go to the streets, everyone is complaining. Market women, breadwinners, buyers of food items, persons living with disability, and even cookery sellers, among others.
For now, I don't really understand because
right now, I don't understand anymore. Prices are soaring every year. There is no price control.
I just guess the cost of living is not funny. Like we traders then, so if you guys go down, it's better.
The cost of living is hard. For us traders, it would be helpful if the rise of price is reduced. Rice is currently 1,000 new leones. Palm oil and vegetable oil are very expensive. It is very difficult to recover our monies back. Some of us are single parents and we survive from our petty businesses.
Well, like now, all the commoners will let out.
Prices are very high in the market. The money we get from begging is not enough to take care of us. We have kids to send to school. Sometimes we just settle for cookery.
So how we able to do that? That money not go do. So they prefer back to go buy cookery.
The food business for we not easy.
It is hard for us to get food. Sometimes we get food donations from humanitarians, but it is never enough. It is very hard for us.
We are the rest business. Let them pin and down.
I am begging, please let price of rice be reduced. I have 4 kids. If I can't raise enough money from begging to buy 25 kilogram bags of rice, which is 550 new leones.
First we will buy, but now we will buy today. We will buy tomorrow.
Well, the market is tough, really tough with the buyer.
The market is tough, very tough for us, the buyers. The measuring cups are small in size.
Then they sell full cup.
Yes, they buy 6,000 for cup, 5,000.
We buy rice for 6 leones, 5 leones, 5 cents per cup. If you bring 50 leones to the market, how can you buy rice and other condiments? Imagine if you are 5 in number at home. Very difficult. The rice is very expensive and it's our staple. Everything is expensive.
Yes, Pepe, everything is expensive right now.
Sunday don't sell, the money they come up.
Sometimes after selling, you don't even recover your capital. Since this morning, I have been here with little sales.
Like this country, yes, right now. We buy right now. 1 million.
We buy the locally produced rice for 1,400 new leones. The imported based on type, we buy at 950 new leones. Things are really difficult for us.
How did we move from a food self-sufficient country that was exporting food to a country in extreme hunger? I could not get politicians or experts to speak to this question, but there are some theories available. 97-year-old Cassandra Gaba, who has seen it all, first point to the dismantling of the railway system in Sierra Leone.
Oranges and whatnot. Oranges we used to buy 10 for a penny. So you can imagine the quantity of those stuff that were shipped down by the railway down to now. Of course, the people in the provinces are complaining because those who still keep, they're not, of course, the number has reduced drastically, which is a pain. But those who still do the farming and have the farms of vegetables, natural growing trees and whatnot, they have a problem of shipping, of sending their goods down to Freetown.
Cassandra Gaba reveals that the current bus station at Wallace Johnson Street was a railway station. She said the trains used to collect food items from the provinces to Freetown, resulting to enough food in the city while providing cash for the farmers. Grandma Gaba also reveals that the current central mosque was a store for goods brought at the railway station. Today, you can no longer come here to buy food but to pray. At the entrance, you see beggars begging for either food or cash to buy food. Another problem is the current poor road network across the country and the inefficiency of motor vehicles to transport food items.
They have a problem of shipping, of sending their goods down to Freetown. Because how much can a lorry or van take as compared with a railway van? You know, a railway has 10, 15 coaches, but you can't compare that with 10 lorries or whatever. So that meant that there was ample provision for people to eat. You see, rice also. As I say, my guardian was a rice dealer. I grew up in the mornings when we go to the shop to open the various rice bags and wrap the top up. So, and walrus, all sorts of species of rice. This is why up to now, as I go to the market, I say, I want walrus. I've been used to it. Rough rice. I've forgotten, of course, some of the names of the others.
Another theory that speaks on the reason for moving from food-sufficient nation to where we are is the structural adjustment of the country's governance architecture by the World Bank and the IMF. Part of this structural adjustment was the transfer of state-owned enterprises to private entities. It was argued that this move will help transform the country for the better, but it only worsened the situation. Several African nationalists and Pan-Africanists believe this was done on purpose to weaken African states and the advancement of neocolonialism and imperialism in Africa. Mami Gaba is not au fait with the theory of the structural adjustment of Sierra Leone's governance structure, but she agrees that a lot has gone wrong after the country gained independence.
So, but when we became independent, well, most of the people who found themselves in authority had not had any experience. They had to find their way. They were in trying to learn on the job. So a lot of mistakes. And then, well, I don't know how you would accept it, but history researchers who have done a lot of research and historians have admitted or pointed out that the colonial government betrayed us by the way they led us to independence. They were just, they focused on what they were getting. That is why at independence, I hope I'm right, but I'm very near to being correct, only 7% of the population have had education. So you see, and then you had the others had to take part in government. They were at a loss, so they made a lot of mistakes. And when you make a lot of mistakes like this, you get the, you annoy people, and it breeds a lot of antagonism into groups. You have a lot of group antagonistic feeling. This is what we are suffering now.
Okay. Corruption is another huge barrier to food production in Sierra Leone. There are allegations of misuse of monies meant for farming, stealing of farm inputs, and poor management of farm implements. The Anti-Corruption Commission and the Audit Service have been revealing misuse of monies meant for agriculture in Sierra Leone. There are so many other underlying factors affecting food production in Sierra Leone. Climate change is leading recent discussions. Meanwhile, the question is whether Sierra Leone can feed herself in the shortest possible time. The current government, led by President Bio, has made food production at the center of his agenda, which he coined Feed Salone. However, it has been over a year now without tangible evidence to show. Some opposition parliamentarians are not sure whether the Feed Salone initiative will work.
Mr. Speaker, in 2007, before the election of 2007, we had food security. Before 2018, we had of bread and butter. And today, we have a new slogan, Feed Salone. Either of these talks about addressing the needs of our people in terms of food.
Mr. Speaker, as a farmer myself, a master farmer in my community in Bombali, I know what I am saying. The e-voucher started in 2022. But to be honest, the e-voucher process needs to be scrutinized for the benefit of farmers. Mr. Speaker, the manner in which the people that are in charge of giving fertilizers, seedlings, that are withdrawing our monies, to be honest, Mr. Speaker, they need to be scrutinized for the benefit of Sierra Leoneans.
Mr. Speaker, members, the only member also said, the only member from Pujo, my good friend, he said the importation of rice has reduced by about 60%. Granted, honorable member. 60%, or even if you say 1%, granted. But Mr. Speaker, remembers, have we asked ourselves the question about the cost of a bag of rice? No. Has it reduced? No. No. It keeps increasing. Mr. Speaker, the forces of demand and supply are natural. If supply of goods increases, it must have an effect on the price. I've said it this well, that importation reduced not because of the increase in production. It is because the consumption pattern of Sierra Leone has changed. Sierra Leone that used to eat 10 cups of rice, they cannot afford it anymore. They are now resorted to buy just 5 cups or 4 cups. So, Mr. Speaker, you should expect consumption to reduce. So, as a result, sales drops. So, importation is bound to drop. Mr. Speaker, other member, when you go to his constituency, a cup of rice has increased from 1,000 in 2018 to 8,000 euros. That's the reality. And Mr. Speaker, the opposite of inflation is deflation. That's the meaning of inflation to our ordinary people. If inflation reduces, it must have an effect on them. And the only means they could know that there has been a reduction in inflation is the reduction in the prices of basic goods and services.
Currently, Sierra Leone spends over $200 million United States dollars to import rice, the country's staple food. Citizens across the country believe this money could be redirected to farming. Tholoma, Sumah, AYV News, Freetown.